start the fight, breaking down the walls in the dead of night. I don't come for peace, I come for the storm. Fanboys melt quick when the truth gets warm. Saw content's high, I'm collecting those tears. Just got started, but I'm cutting through fears. I'm not here for brand deals, I'm not for sale. I expose your lies, rip off the veil.
Well, I got invited onto somebody's show. It's with Flipping the Switch on Liquored Up Live. Now, we had a very interesting discussion. We talked Nintendo stuff. We were going to sit here and talk about what's going on with the layoffs from Microsoft, but unfortunately, we ran out of time. So hopefully you guys enjoy.
This is Zoo with Flipping the Switch, as you've always known, and welcome to a very special fucking Liquored Up Live. We're actually doing it. We're doing the thing again. So I think we've got a very interesting discussion getting ready to happen here. I've got the Angry Vigilante show with me here today. We're going to talk a little bit about some things that are going on, and just it's good to be fucking back, guys. Don't be a little gentle. If there weren't technical issues, it wouldn't be a fucking Liquored Up Live. What's going on, guys? So I'm going to introduce my guest. This is the Angry Vigilante show, and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself, and please shout out if there's any technical issues, or if you can't fucking hear me, or if you can't hear him. That'll be awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and more importantly, what the fuck you're drinking, man.
Well, I am the Angry Vigilante. I do reactions on Salty Fanboys, and right now, I'm unfortunately just drinking some soda, because after this, I gotta drive. And I don't promote drinking and driving. Well, how I got into gaming, like ever since I can remember, the very first console I ever played was actually a Sega Genesis. And I remember I loved it, always wanted my own console. And I remember one year for Christmas, don't remember what age I was, but for Christmas, I got a Super Nintendo. And I remember there was 3 games I got with it. Donkey Kong Country 2, a wrestling game, and Yoshi Island. And ever since then, I've always been in love with video games. I still think that the greatest game on the Super Nintendo is the Yoshi Island game.
Hey, what the fuck has happened to this hobby? And I think you come at it from a similar perspective as me, which is that you're trying to be as pro-consumer as possible. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is I've watched some of your stuff, right? And so I guess that's my next question is what got you into the Salty Fanboy content?
Well, see, when I first started it, I didn't even know that that's what it was. I never knew about the community or anything. When I started doing it, I remember the Switch 2 Direct came, and then I saw the price of Mario Kart World, and I noticed all the big Nintendo YouTubers I was watching, none of them were speaking out. I'm like, you guys have claimed before about stuff being anti-consumer. Why are you guys not doing this now? Like, I've seen you guys speak out against other stuff. Why not this? And it just enraged me that they weren't doing it. And I always enjoyed reacting. That's like my favorite thing to do on YouTube is do reaction videos. And that's just how it started. And then I noticed some other people were, kind of seemed like they were downplaying how expensive Mario Kart World was. And it just took off from there. And then after I did maybe a couple weeks of it, I started getting requested by my subscribers, hey, go react to this person and react to that person. And then it just took off from there.
Gotcha. So basically the pivot into the reaction content was kind of viewer driven, basically. So they were like, hey, you got to check this out. Like, I can't believe what these guys are saying. Is that basically what was going on?
Well, I was always doing reactions before that. I was just doing different kind of reactions. But when it came to reacting to like the Salty Fanboys type stuff, it started with the Switch 2 Direct. But that's what took it off for me to start doing it.
Switch 2 Direct, yeah. So what kind of reaction content were you doing prior to that?
Just like trailer reactions. I would also do like some game reviews, but it was mainly like trailer reactions, like deep dive type stuff.
Okay, gotcha. And is that how you initially got into YouTube? Well, that's another thing that I always like to ask is what kind of got you in from doing the gaming to being like, you know what? Everybody needs to hear my perspectives on my takes on things. Like I always like to joke that like when we do this, it's almost kind of arrogant when we start a YouTube channel, but nevertheless we do it. So what was your entry point in that? What was the thing that made you go, I got to do this?
Well, see, my very first YouTube channel, it was terrible. I only got like 50 some subscribers in like 3 months. It wasn't really that good. I did not have any idea what I was doing. and that was a gaming channel. And then I decided to start another channel with a couple other YouTubers, and we were doing like reaction commentating type stuff. And that's really what got me into the whole reaction. I realized that I was good at it.
Right.
And I realized that people were enjoying it. So, but it didn't work out. The whole podcast thing didn't work out. So then I started a whole nother channel where I was doing reactions, but it wasn't about gaming. It was in a different niche. And then when I hit 1,000 subscribers on there, I'm like, okay, well, I want to try gaming again. And that's how I created this channel. Now, my other channel is a dead channel. I received over 100 and something copyright claims, which was BS. And, you know, and like that's time for another story, but that
right.
was
No,
essentially
that's the bane of any small channel's existence. They'll fucking crush you with that, man.
Oh yeah, you know, I didn't get no copyright strikes. It was just I got copyright claims to where they were like, "Oh, you can continue reacting to my stuff, but I want your revenue." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not gonna happen."
So that kind of gets us to where I kind of come in at, because I kind of really clued in on your stuff with the recent debate you had. I think his name was Shadow Fox, right? And
yeah, Shadow Fox Infinite.
I struggled through that fucking train wreck, kind of like we were having earlier on this stream. So, by the way, and yeah, no, it's someone says in the chat that like, oh, is this just me, or is this an Angry Vigilante Gaming thing? No, it's not. This is entirely my fault. So, which means I should be admonished, because I talked a lot of shit in that debate. As far as saying, man, let me on there, somebody who doesn't have these fucking audio issues. And turns out I probably would have had a lot of fucking audio issues if I were on there from the looks of this fucking thing so far. But anyway, the main thing I wanted to talk about, actually, why I had you on, is I agree with a lot of your stuff directionally, but I do think that a lot of your takes tend to fall into things that are easy to attack or dismiss, right? And so I kind of wanted to discuss, like, when you're attempting to give a critique of the gaming industry, when you settle on, for example, I think you go after fanboys, or you go after things like that, go after pricing, things of that nature. Why is it that you do that rather than go after, like, for example, things such as the fact that this is, to me, a very un-Nintendo way to act in some circumstances, in terms of, and I don't mean by pricing, because I can already see people in the chat be like, well, what are you talking about? You know, pricing's going up. It's not just Nintendo. I'm not talking about that, guys. What I'm talking about is the trend that gets away from Iwata's vision of the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo console being a disruptive, innovating device, a device that is blue ocean and expands gaming's audience. That is something that only Nintendo was interested in doing. And the fact that they're no longer doing that, to me, is actually the most disturbing thing of all. It just seems like this is a sustaining innovation that's going with, you know, more graphics, more power, catering to the third-party cartel. And to me, again, I directionally, I agree that there are issues with the console. I just see different issues than maybe you see. Could you elaborate a little bit on what your specific issues with Nintendo are?
Well, right now, my specific issues is definitely the overprice, you know, of certain games like Mario Kart World. That's number one. The console itself, I don't really have a problem with the console itself. You know, I didn't really like how Japan was getting a cheaper one, but
Sure.
I'm pretty much over that. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it now. But I think that the console itself is fairly priced. I would have preferred to see it at 400, but at 450, it's not too bad. But mainly, my hugest problem with them is the price of the game. I don't like how they can ban your account, or ban your Switch. I mean, I really don't like that. And what are some of the others? So yeah, pretty much them two right now that I can think of.
Gotcha. Okay. And again, I don't necessarily disagree that the price on the Switch 2 is fair for what's in the box. You're getting a lot of tech in that fucking box. In fact, I suspect it's probably being sold for a loss. So again, very un-Nintendo, by the way. That. And yeah. I guess the last time that happened was the Wii U. And not that I think this is going to be a Wii U style performance. I've said very often I feel like this is going to be an NES to SNES decline for Nintendo, basically, which still could be very profitable. I don't think Nintendo is doomed by any nature, so please don't think I'm saying that, chat. What I'm saying though is this is a decline that's going. This is not a product that I feel like is going to grow and expand the audience of gaming, which means it's going to follow the macroeconomic trends, and the macroeconomic trends are shit right now. That's the danger of pursuing the red ocean, right? The red ocean is a finite group of hardcore gamer freaks that you're fighting over. And Nintendo has basically joined the battle, if you want to use a Smash Brothers term, over these hardcore gamers. Now, again, that's kind of the thing here, and I see in the comment section, Minato is mentioning that, remember, Switch 1 was also criticized in its $299 price. Yeah, but you'll notice that there was 100% less defensiveness, Minato Mario, with the Switch. And that's the other thing. I got to tell you, I never saw this level of defensiveness with the Switch 1. And the reason why is because I didn't have to defend the Switch 1. There was nothing to defend. The console stood for itself. You didn't see anywhere near the defensiveness on the Switch 1 that you saw on the Switch 2. You just didn't, man. And in terms of Iwata's vision, Minato Mario says Iwata's vision. Iwata was awesome, but he was heavily criticized for how he handled the Wii U and not really focus on core gamers, etc. The Wii U was for core gamers. I mean, I don't know what you're saying there. It was specifically a beefy power upgrade. It had a ton of third-party support at very first, until of course it didn't, because that's what third parties do. They roach out at the first sign of trouble. That's why it's always dangerous for Nintendo to rely on third parties that hate them, by the way. And we can go into the history of that if you want. But third parties are notoriously anti-Nintendo in general. And the Wii U, I can tell you that I understand what Iwata was going for, Minato Mario, with the Wii U. What Iwata wanted to do there is he was looking at trying to detach from the screen. And what he failed to realize is that, and it was more of a Japan-centric console in that way, because what was happening is we were already separated from the screen. We had it's called smartphones, and we all had one in our pocket. And so it was a really interesting device to try to separate console gaming from the TV, but we were already divorcing from the TV in many, many ways. The big TV was becoming less and less the center of the living room, and Iwata saw that. That was the whole point of the Wii U. It didn't work out, but I do respect the Wii U for its attempt at another disruptive innovation. I do. Wii U barely had any first-party games, so that's why many are on Switch 1 now. Yeah, that's right, because the thing flopped, and they abandoned it at the first sign of trouble, man. And we'll get into that for sure. But yeah, it's you can't rely on third parties. You can't do it. And I do see Nintendo kind of coming out swinging this time around, which is good. But as far as their first party software, they need to do that. But I would not. I look, if these game key cards don't sell and sell well, I look for them to abandon this console too. They're looking for Minato Mario. If you don't believe nothing else I say, believe me when I say I've looked at the history of third parties. They are looking for any fucking excuse to abandon Nintendo. I promise you. I promise you that. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, that was me just discussing with one of my chatters. But what do you think of that? What's kind of your opinion on that, man?
Okay, so when it came to the Wii U, I never actually played the Wii U. I didn't really like the Wii itself. I'm just not a hand motion control type person.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
I love the GameCube, love the N64, Super Nintendo, the Switch, loved it. And then when I saw the Wii U, I didn't realize at first it was a brand new console. I honestly thought it was a accessory to the Wii.
Very common attitude. Yeah, it was very poorly marketed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, and then when it comes to the whole third party thing, yeah, they will dip out at the first sign of trouble. But the unfortunate part is I think the third party, they just have way too high of expectations sometimes. Like when you look back on the Switch 1, you saw all those amazing first party titles, how many they sold. Unfortunately, people can only afford so many games. People got to be more real, like companies got to be more realistic. Like when you look at the Switch 1 and how many of those first party games sold, if third party think they're going to come in and they're going to sell those exact numbers, they got to be more realistic here. It's like people can only afford so many games at once.
Oh, 100%. We're running into that right now with what's going on with Microsoft and their layoffs. And, we're running into that, which is that there's only a finite amount of dollars. This is the danger of the red ocean. And this is why the best thing gaming can do, and that's why I will not let Iwata rest, Minato Mario, is because if you're not expanding the audience, gaming is going to contract. It's going to contract financially, and that means it's going to contract in the amount and quality of games you get every time there's an economic downturn, because you've tied yourself to what is honestly a pretty small group of people, and that's hardcore gamers. You have to expand the audience. You have to create those new gamers. You have to be interested. Somebody fucking has to be interested in creating those moments where I'm sitting there with my dad and emulating his play and learning how to play video games. Somebody's got to be fucking interested in doing that, guys. Because if they're not, if Sony's not, and Microsoft damn sure isn't. So really all we have is Nintendo. And if Nintendo's not interested in doing that anymore, we're in a lot of trouble. That's all I'm trying to say. And to me, that's the attack vector. The attack vector is, I want the company that did the Wii, and I loved the Wii. I actually left console gaming after the Super Nintendo. I played a little bit on the Nintendo 64, but it was hit or miss. I was already drifting toward PC gaming at that point. Didn't come back till the Wii. Ran away from the Wii U. Ran away from the GameCube, ran away from the Wii U. Came back for the Switch, and now I'm not necessarily running away from the Switch too, but it sure as fuck doesn't have my attention yet, right?
Yeah. Oh, I get it. Eventually I will get a Switch too, but I'm one of those people, I don't buy consoles brand new. I don't really see a point in buying a console brand spanking new. I believe you can buy one pre-owned and you're getting the same thing. I'm just cheap like that.
So me, I'll do it. It's just a matter of, do you have the game or games I want? So for this system, usually I need 6. With the Switch 2, I need 12. I need 12 games. I need 6 that I would buy a system for, and I need 6 games that I'll buy once I have the system, but wouldn't buy hardware for. Right now, it's got, I think, 3. Right? It had 3. It's got 2 now because it's Mario Kart World got crossed off for a couple of reasons, and we can get into Mario Kart World. I think that's one of the things we're going to talk about. I'm still hopeful for it. I think Donkey Kong looks generational though. And so Donkey Kong definitely has my attention if it can fulfill its very lofty promises that I'm looking at. Because holy shit, did you see the 8-minute trailer on Donkey Kong Bonanza? Did you see that trailer yet?
Was that in the direct or is that another trailer?
No, that's a new one. It's really, really good, man. It's got about 8 minutes of gameplay and presentation, and I'm telling you, man. I was somebody who was really cold toward the Switch 2. I still am. But looking at that game, I'm like, wow, this might actually be one of those games. It might actually go from being that I'll buy it when I get the console to I would buy a console for this. I got to see it in action first. I'm not gonna slob its knob over a trailer or a demo like some people do, right?
Oh, I know. No, I did see the direct, and yeah, it looked amazing. It got me excited for it. The only thing that I'm worried about with this game, because like for me, for $70, if I'm gonna sit here and recommend a $70 game, it needs to be long enough, and I'm worried that it might not be long enough. Maybe that's just me getting a little worried. We'll find out when the game comes out. But if the game comes out and we find out we can beat that game in 10 hours, I'll gladly say 10 hours is not long enough for me to go buy a $70 game.
Yeah, so in general, what I would tell you about Nintendo is that cartridge size, that file size can be very misleading, right? So Nintendo are some of the only people that actually still optimize their shit. They are maestros in optimization. And so I never get worried about their file size. And what I would do is I would encourage you to go look up the cartridge size of a game like Xenoblade Chronicles 3. In fact, let me do that right now real quick. If it's not going to go haywire on me. Let's see here. Xenoblade
amazing game.
3 file size. Check this out. Bro, 14.4 gigabytes.
Oh, yeah, that's a long game.
14.4. So that's just Nintendo magic, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a fear there. The only fear is it might be a little short in the tooth because it is a platformer. Because again, I don't want to compare. I don't want to compare an RPG, a JRPG, 100+ hour game to a fucking platformer. But to me, yeah, Monado Mario says around 20 hours. That would be perfect for me. That would be perfect.
Oh, yeah,
If you can
20
give me 20 hours of solid fucking content, yeah.
Yep. For me, like I have a strict criteria when it comes to a $70 game, and one of them, it has to at least give you 20 hours of the first playthrough gameplay.
Yeah. And again, I remember paying, so I'm not quite that way, and the reason for that is I remember paying it was like $80 in 1994 for what was it, Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 3 at the time, but because we didn't get some of the Japanese ones at that time, so it was 3 at the time, and that game was $80. So if you calculate the inflation, it's like $130, $140 fucking game. And that game, I remember that game being about 30 hours, and I remember thinking to myself, that is about as long as a game ever needs to fucking be. Anything longer than that, and you're starting to not respect my time. And I'm old and I'm working now. I'm in business, and I'll tell you, time is very precious to me. And the last thing I want is for a video game to waste my fucking time. Like if you're gonna put me in like hamster wheel shit, if you're gonna put me through unlockathons, like I don't give a shit about any of that. I would much rather have the time back. So as long as that gameplay loop is compelling and you can get me, like you said, a good 20 hours, 20, 30 hours, that's the sweet spot to me. I love that sweet spot of like right there.
Oh, and what I mean by 20 hours, I'm talking about like quality, stuff. I'm not talking about level padding and fetch quests and those kind of stuff.
Right. Now, in terms of Mario Kart World, I started out really, really strong on Mario Kart World. I saw that and I'm like, holy shit, this is kind of the kick in the ass that Mario Kart needs. And then I started hearing about people playing it. I started hearing about how with 24 players, all you do is get hit by items and you can't really race. And I kept hearing about the straight race ways, and now they took away the ability to do the circuit races. And the more I hear about this game, the more cold water is getting thrown on the game, to the point where it's basically been demoted to a game I might buy the system. A game I might buy when I get the system, but it's no longer a system seller to me. Now, a lot of that can be patched out, right? And a lot of it can't.
Yeah.
I guess my question for people that have played the game, is there a way to just play with is there a mode where you can just play with the 8 players or the 16 players or whatnot? I just don't know enough about it, and that might swing my opinion a little bit the other way if that were the case. But yeah, from what I've heard and what I've apparently when you have like the max amount of players, like all you do is get fucking pelted by items and you can't do shit. And it's just a fucking annoying fest.
Oh, it is, like pretty much like this is what I got the expectation on Mario Kart World. If you're going to play with some friends, play with some family, don't go in the expectation that you're always going to win. Just go in the expectation to have some fun. A lot of it is luck based because you can't control when you're going to get hit by a lightning bolt right before the finish line.
Or a blue shell. But there's a difference. But there's a difference, man, between getting hit every once in a while and oh my God, I can't fucking hit the accelerator because I keep getting hit with items. And
it is annoying.
I kind of feel like, and then the other thing is I kind of look at video games as appetites being serviced by a certain dish, right? So what did we play Mario Kart for? Mario Kart was a fucking arcade battle racer, man. So is this open world shit, like, is that really adding to the dish, or is that making the dish something? In a way, it kind of reminds me of the GameCube days and what I couldn't fucking stand about the GameCube, which is the ghastly Buffalo Bill reskinning of franchises, where it's like, oh, we have an idea, let's jam that idea into Mario Kart, and instead of just giving the fans the expectation of, hey, here's a really solid arcade battle racer. I could be completely fucking ignorant on that. I've not played the game, so there's that, right? It's you should see DSP play Mario Kart World. His reactions are hilarious. Oh my fucking God. But DSP is a train wreck. You want to talk about, by the way, Vigilante, you want to talk about reaction content. Way back in the day, I actually had a react channel to it's one of my old projects, to Darkside Phil. And that was back when he was just getting started, and it was so fun. I would actually sometimes pull as many or more as he was pulling, just making fun. It was like a shit on Phil channel, and it was really fun. That was back when I used to do that kind of content, and that's an old dead project. But you need to check out Dark Side Phil if you haven't already. That's a fucking rabbit hole, man.
I will. I just recently found out about him, so I'll definitely check him out. The thing is, like, there are so many people like him. I can't react to everybody.
No. Make sure he's one of them. Make sure he's one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I don't know if you know of Reforged Gaming. A lot of people try to, like, some people have tried to tell me. I've tried to react to him, but I just find him too boring.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you won't have that problem with Phil. I watched Phil. I watched an actual human being cook bacon and then walk a hot pan full of bacon grease to the toilet and flush the grease down the fucking toilet.
Oh, that's what he did?
Yeah, that's what he did. You will never have the guy is, and he's not even trying to mine for content doing this stupid shit. He's just that fucking stupid, man.
Oh, okay. I'll definitely look into him.
I remember sitting there and just dying laughing while I sat there and fucking smoked a cigar and just laughed my ass off at this dumb motherfucker, this dumb as pig shit dude, like literally ruining his plumbing for an eternity.
Oh wow. Yeah. But back to Mario Kart World. When it comes to the open world, I think that I think Nintendo dropped the ball with the whole open world thing. Because when I was playing the game, you don't actually need to do the open world part unless you want to do all those P switches. And at first they're fun, but to me they just get repetitive after a while. And there's no real incentive outside of being fun to really do them. Like, yeah, you unlock some stickers, but it just when you unlock those stickers, to me, it's just useless. I don't really care about the stickers. So I did a few of the P switches, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting bored of the P switches. So to me, there's so many of them. You know, there's just way too many. You know, like what I think that they should have done was just not do the open world thing, because when it comes to a racing game, the open world has to tie in with the game. When it comes to a racing game, and to me, it doesn't really do that. You can just skip it all. You just do the Grand Prix, the knockout tours, and that's about it. What I think they should have done instead of the P switches in the open world was just do missions in each individual race. You unlock something if you do a certain thing. I think that would have been far better. And I
was hoping for a story mode, kind of like Diddy Kong.
Oh, so was I. Oh yeah, they heavily need for an $80 price point. To me, there's no excuse why they didn't have a story mode. That's just ridiculous. If Super Smash Bros. Ultimate could have done a story mode, I think they could have done a story mode too.
Big missed opportunity, I feel like. But
oh yeah,
let's see. Let's go ahead and get caught up on comments as we read all the comments here. So Engraved Ring of Healing says, "Hell's yeah." Says, "Looking forward to this. I was down in the dumps today. Good timing." Well, that's good to hear, Engraved. Good to see you here, man. Master Nathan says, "Sobriety sweat." Fuck sobriety. We don't do that. This is Liquored Up Live, man. We don't do that. Angry Vigilante might do that, but I'm not doing that.
I'm not against alcohol. I got to drive after this. I don't promote drinking and driving here.
I don't promote drinking and driving. Don't do that, chat. Big mistake. Trust me. Now, Minato Mario says, "Oh, wow, he actually came to your stream, LOL. Yeah. And I guess we should tell how we kind of hooked up. You had done a video. It was a reaction stream, and you just mentioned that I had mentioned some of the critiques. And you're like, hey, if you want to talk, we're absolutely down. And me being, always down to talk, I'm like, yeah, hey, hit me up. We'll talk. And so here we are. So, yeah, he's a straight stand-up guy. Came right on. Let's see here. We've got Engraved Ring of Healing says no Sujama for sober swits. No Sujama tonight. And I didn't tell everybody what I was fucking drinking. I am drinking, in honor of me almost finishing up with Morrowind's A Becky and Shores release, I am finishing up some El Dorado 15-year rum, and it is fucking delicious. Minato Mario, always well behind the 8 ball here. He asks, what's the topic going to be about, Flip? Well, you're looking at it, baby. We talk about all kinds of shit on here. You never know what you're going to get on a Liquored Up Live. Engraved Ring of Healing says, I got a pizza on the way and a bottle of Stoli. Cheers, boys. Now, that's a fucking night. That's a fucking night. I remember those nights, man. I remember pizza's a little bit of an upgrade. Like, I remember those Lonely Fucks New Year's nights. I always used to joke about the Lonely Fucks New Year's, an Impossible Whopper and a bag of Franzia wine. a box of Franzia. And just the most miserable. I was just trying to think of the most miserable fucking New Year's I could think of. It was just by yourself with an Impossible Whopper. You know, you're crying into your Impossible Whopper. You know, you're eating it that way. The whatever is in those fucking Impossible Whoppers can give you a big case of tits. You're drinking your Franzia boxed wine. Like what a fun evening that is. And it's actually when I play games, I play under the Liquored Up Lonely tag, and it's sort of like a dude crying with a box of Franzia and an Impossible Whopper. So fun stuff. Monado Mario says salty fanboy, sure, LOL. And then any reaction to that, Vigilante?
Hey, I know exactly who that is. Oh yeah, I think he's secretly a fan of my channel. He just doesn't want to admit it. But,
okay.
Hey, you know what? If you go and watch my content, there is one specific person, and there is no way no one can deny that he is a salty fanboy. Is it all right if I say his name?
If you want, I mean, I don't care.
Yeah. If anybody's ever seen Harmon Smith, there's no way that someone can say he is not a salty fanboy.
Dude, Harmon Smith is one of the other ways I got pegged onto your content, man. Dude, that guy is... So there's fanboys, and then there is delusional.
Yes.
That dude is incredible. Incredible.
Oh, yes, he is.
I've had my own run-in with Harmon Smith, and yeah, that guy is... Man.
Oh, I got a special video coming out.
And Harmon, since you were directly mentioned by both of us, if you ever want to come on the show and talk, I think that would be fucking spectacular, my dude. I would love to have you on. I'm dead serious. Let's see. That's Discord. Shake my head. I think it's just Discord being wacko. No, it's me. I got a new mic and it has different rules apparently than the headset has, and I was fucking up. So that's entirely my fault. Like I figured it out though. Engraved Ring of Healing says I blame Todd Howard. Yeah, we're gonna blame little Todd Howard for everything. Todd Howard influenced Nintendo. Todd Howard with his all 4'1" of him, right? Like. Todd Howard's a little guy that likes to tell tall tales. He just influences everybody, damn it. He's a meme around here. he's the guy that runs Bethesda. Monado Mario says, I can hear AVS but not Flip, which we got to. Keithius says, got to work out the technical difficulties, Keithius said. Hey, we're always working on that. Yeah, Monado Mario says, you be the host now, AVS, LOL, just kidding. Can't hear Flip. SNES Classic. And Graves says Yoshi's Island, still one of my faves. Monado says, I played Yoshi's Island on SNES too. I think it's fine, but Kirby and Fire Emblem are better. You played Fire Emblem on the SNES back in the day? You got to tell me what your hookup is, man. Genealogy of the Holy War wasn't even out yet. Not here.
Oh, man, I didn't even know they had Fire Emblem back then.
Yes, yeah, they got Genealogy of the Holy War, one of the best fucking Fire Emblems ever made. But you have to import it, and you have to get, like, a reproduction card, basically.
Oh, okay.
It's a great time, though. You definitely... If they don't end up remaking it, which the rumor is they're remaking it for Switch, it was. I'll be so sad if it's a Switch 2 exclusive. I'll be so fucking pissed off. That'll definitely check a box, though. Still no sounds from Switch. Still can't hear you, Flip. Brooks says none of us can hear Zoo. We only hear Vigilante. You're still muted, Swit. Zoo can't hear you. F Discord. Nah, it's all my stupid ass. Sounded like a great convo. We just lost half of it, LOL. Is it me or does this always happen? No, it's all me this time. I'll try my best not to be annoying. No problem, Monado. That's what we're here to have a conversation, man. And then finally, okay, you can hear me. Okay, Monado says you should ask him why you make tons of content on Nintendo Prime and OJ, LOL. Yeah, what about that? You want to answer that, buddy?
Well, sure. When it comes to Nintendo Prime, I only do content on him when he reports on something I believe is anti-consumer. I actually have a lot of respect for Nintendo Prime. When I did a debate with him in Player Essence, Nintendo Prime was very respectful. He was a great host, even though he was sitting there eating food, didn't even offer us any. He could have offered us a sip of his Coke Zero or something, But,
right.
Overall, Nintendo Prime, good guy, have no problem with them.
Okay.
Now, Player Essence.
Yeah, you guys.
If you go watch my videos, you see what? You can see why I react to a lot of him, but I don't just react to them. Maybe that's the only ones that he watches.
Okay.
But if you go back and watch my videos, I got plenty of other people besides them. It's just that for a while after the debate, Player Essence just wouldn't shut up. He just kept running his mouth the whole time, and it's like, well, I got to check him here. So that's why I constantly do one on Player Essence.
Well, and again, I just to play a little bit of defense for OJ. I think the chat eggs him on a lot, right?
They do.
I think there's that. And OJ has a thing where he tends to mirror energy. So I gotta ask: is there anything you can think of that you did that would cause him to do that? Because I mean, I've debated him a lot of times. I've never had that fucking problem, so I don't know what the deal is. But I would love a chance to squash it if he would be willing to come on and you would be willing to come on. I think I could squash this Nintendo Prime OJ style, like we did back on the other one. But again, that offer's out there. That's an outstanding offer. I leave that up to you and him entirely.
Yeah. Well, I think, he said the reason why, he said so was because I called him names first, which all I called him was a fanboy.
Oh, that'll do it though, man. He does.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he got angry over that. And then my very first video, I said he was being disingenuous, which he was. And, he loves to claim that I take him out of context, that I'm disingenuous, which if you take someone out of context, I mean, that's the easiest thing to prove here. He's more than welcome to prove if I take him out of context. So.
Well, and I think context can be perspective based though, right? So maybe he didn't think he was, just like maybe there was just a miscommunication there. That's why, again, I'd love at some point just to have you both on and see if we can't squash that. But again, I leave that entirely to you guys. You don't have to if you don't want to. And I totally get it. It has gotten rather personal at this point. So,
yeah. Well, I would say if you ever could get us together like that, I promise you it would be a very entertaining one. I can promise you that one. So it would not be boring. I can promise.
No, but I don't just do this for content. I would do this to try to mend a riff there, because I tell you, I like OJ. I think an awful lot of OJ. I do. And based on my conversation with you, I think you're a pretty swell guy too. So I'm wondering what the fucking disconnect here is, right? Because I really think the world of him. And we've seen pretty swell. So what is going on, and what can we do to fix this, if possible? Sometimes personalities just don't mesh, though, right, man? Some people are like instruments in that way, unique formations, and sometimes some instrument songs resonate with other instruments, and some are discordant. So maybe it's just not meant to be. But hell, I mean, you guys both seem all right to me.
Yeah, well, I think with me, my personality is like I'm very I heavily criticize things, and I think with OJ, it's just more he doesn't take criticism very well.
Okay,
in my opinion, people can say otherwise. I've seen enough of his live streams. I don't think that he could take criticism very well.
I think there's a particular way that he is more receptive to. So, like, again, me and him, if you've ever seen our Twitter threads, we go back and forth constantly. And it's always very respectful though. So again, I don't know what button is being pushed on in either direction, but you guys are finding it for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, with me, my button is there's just a certain line that you don't cross, and unfortunately, he crossed it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that would explain that. Then I suppose. Yeah. Okay. This says, yes, at flipping the switch, so they can hear me now. Pro anti-consumer, in my opinion, is now more of a buzzword. And sorry, Angry Vigilante, but video games being overpriced is not anti-consumer. Nintendo consoles have region lock. Now that's anti-consumer. So here, I'm going to press you on that, Minato. So if Mario Kart was $160, would that be anti-consumer?
Oh, yes, it would.
My point being is maybe $80 isn't anti-consumer. I'm not going to necessarily say that is the case. I haven't played the game. I wouldn't know what the value is. What I will say is, at a certain point, when a game is priced well beyond any potential value, it is going to be an anti-consumer thing. But I also believe, at least somewhat, in the market to correct for that. Now, gamers are the worst customers. I've said that for years now. They're the absolute worst customers, but I would like to have faith that at $160, Mario Kart sales would drop to zero. And the reason it would drop to
know.
zero, Minato, is that would be an anti-consumer price point. That is well beyond the value of that game. It just is for most people, for a vast majority of people. So,
Is it right if I elaborate on that?
absolutely, sure.
Okay, yeah. So, because I noticed in the last debate, a lot of people wanted me to keep talking about the whole $80 game thing. Now, I am not saying this just about Nintendo. I have been very consistent with this. No game should be worth $80. But so right now, the standard price that is set across the gaming industry for those AAA games is $70.
Okay.
You know, I don't always like $70, but I've accepted that back because that's what the standard price is. $80 is not the standard price. So to me, going above the standard price when there's really no reason to do it, no one's going to make me believe that Mario Kart World has to be put at $80. There's no way. Nobody can give me any type of point why it should be at $80. So when you go above the standard price just because you feel like it, to me, that is anti-consumer.
So I see where you're going with that. I kind of disagree, and here's why. So I gladly paid, like I said, like $120 in real money back in the 90s, and that was for Final Fantasy VI. Was probably the game we spent the most fucking money. It was so expensive back in the day. I feel like I got my money's worth out of that. I genuinely feel like that game is worth that and then some, as much as I played it over the years. What I will say is, like, I guess where I would press you at would to say, why is the line why did you accept 70 and why not 80? I guess everybody has their line, and I'm not gonna shit on that, but why not 60? Why isn't 60 the line? Why did we accept 70? Why not 60? Why not 80? And I guess that would be my question is, it's just, you see how arbitrary it seems?
Yeah. Well, I would love for games to go back down to $60. That would be amazing, but we all know that that's not going to happen. You know, there's no way these gaming companies are going to lower that damn price back down to 60.
It could if gamers stopped being the worst customers.
Oh, exactly. But see, right now, like, we have that chance to where we don't have to accept these $80 price points. We can fight back. Now, eventually, like you say, gamers are the worst customers. It's eventually all games are going to go to 80 one way or another. Because, like you said, we're the worst customers out there. And then once that happens, I guess I'll accept the $80 price point. But it does. You know, I'm still going to be heavily critical of it.
Sure. So, I guess my thing. The other thing is, and I'll just say this hot take. I think the physical game should be as expensive as it has to be to get it on the cartridge. Okay. I think the digital game should be heavily discounted. And we're not getting either of those. We're getting pricing that is at a certain point that doesn't matter about the game's content. And then the digital game is the same fucking price. And there's no production costs. And as somebody who's in an industry that I'm an executive in an industry that has production costs, it drives me fucking nuts that video game companies get away with keeping their digital games that expensive on consoles. It is fucking crazy to me.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think the reason why there's not a whole lot of pushback on that is because I think if they sit there and lower the price of the digital game versus the physical game, I think a lot of people would throw a fit saying, oh, you're trying to push out physical media is what I think would happen. Yeah,
probably. But again, it just makes sense that there's no production costs associated with that. So lower, like if you buy a digital music soundtrack, it's going to be much cheaper than buying a physical CD, right? Like, it's what the fuck? Why is video games so special in this regard? And the reason is because they have the worst customers. I'll never stop saying that.
Oh, yeah, that is very true. Even though, hey, we still can rent the games. People can go down and be a little cheaper. GameFly is an amazing service.
So video game pricing is subjective. Some think all Nintendo's games should stay $50. Again, I agree. I think pricing is very subjective, but Minato Mario, that's kind of what I'm getting at. But at the end of the day, we'll pay whatever they want us to pay, and that's kind of what we're kind of laughing about right now. Minato Mario says Shadow Fox, Nintendo Prime, and Player Essence pretty much have better arguments than AVS. Sorry, not sorry. Hey, you know what? Everybody that's what's great about debates. Everybody can watch them and come to a conclusion, right? But
yep.
Like Minato says, flip the switch now. If anything, I'd argue Shadow Fox was still not using his full debate power. I gotta tell you, man, I thought Shadow Fox did good. I thought Shadow Fox did well. I didn't like the questions in that debate. And that's kind of why I was talking about him in the pre-show. I didn't care for the questions. I don't feel like half the questions had anything to do with the actual issues surrounding the Switch 2. But that's my critique of a lot of the Switch 2 discourse and discussion. I feel like most of the anti-Switch 2 versus pro-Switch 2 is missing the forest for the trees on what really matters. And I've kind of got the unique perspective of, hey, nobody's talking about the fact that the entire console gaming industry gave the fuck up on expanding their audience. And doing that in an economic downturn and geopolitical and macroeconomic turmoil is a fucking death sentence. Gaming is going to shrink because of these decisions they are collectively making. That's my fucking argument. And I can tell you right now, Shadow Fox or Prime or Player Essence, I don't think any of them have anything that will deal with that argument because it's just a simple economic reality. All forces bend to macroeconomics, but not they just do. And if you're not ahead of the macroeconomic trends, it will run you the fuck over. And that's what we're about to watch. We're watching it happen collectively right now. Look at the year Microsoft and Sony are having. If you don't think that's going to catch up to Switch 2 as the world gets worse and worse, I got a bridge to sell you, man. Everything is going to be a decline from previous generation. Everything, including Nintendo.
Is it all right if I elaborate?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so when it came to the debate with Shadow Fox, I got no problem with Shadow Fox or
He did good.
I enjoyed them both. I think Shadow Fox is very intelligent. Now, when it came to the two topics, I love the second topic that we did when it came to the third party. The first topic, I will admit, was on me. I completely misunderstood what he wanted to debate because there were people that were telling me it seemed like we were doing like two different debates on that topic. And because he wanted to debate if the Switch 2 was an actual 10th gen, and I did get confused when he wanted to do that, but I was running around saying that the Switch 2 was a Switch Pro. So I took it as that, and that's what I thought he wanted to debate. And then I found out after the fact that no, it was more that I didn't know that people were saying that the Switch 2 was a 9th gen and people didn't accept the Wii U as a new gen or something. That I didn't know. So that was on me. I give the W to Shadow Fox for the first topic because I didn't ask him to elaborate what he wanted to. And unfortunately, I made us both look bad for not doing
Sure. Well, I'll tell you what my answer would have been to that. If you ever get that answer again, I strongly advise this answer because that whole fucking thing was irrelevant. And that's don't care. Next question.
Yeah, well,
don't care.
I wouldn't have agreed to that. I wouldn't have agreed to that topic because I agreed with them. You know, that
don't
Switch 2
care.
was the 10th gen. You know,
don't care what gen you consider the Switch 2. Don't care.
Yeah,
I literally don't give a fuck.
I get it.
Like, can we please talk about like the Switch 2? Yeah, that's what I would have said anyway. But at that point I would have been a drunk asshole.
Oh, I get it. The second topic, I thought was a great topic. When it came to the third party thing, I thought it was a good topic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Third party topic was great. Yeah. Iwata's vision. Iwata was it? We already did that. So, okay. So Angry Vigilante show. Can we talk about Japan sales now since Switch 2 is now breaking records everywhere? Let's wait till July. That's what I tell the anti-Switch 2 people. That's what I tell the pro Switch 2 people. We are still in the demand phase, man. We have not met the demand phase yet, which is good. That means a lot of fucking people want to Switch 2 in the demand phase. That means there's a lot of early adopters. Early adopters don't make a system successful. They don't. Early adopters set a standard for the system. They set that lower floor threshold, but they don't make a system successful. You have to be able to sell outside the demand period. Basically, what I'm telling you, man, is when the systems start to sit on the shelves and you start to be able to readily buy a Nintendo Switch 2, that is when I will start to look at what they're selling week to week and month to month.
Yeah, okay, but hold on, flipping switch. The person who asked that, you got to get some context into it. You got a lot of people from your Player Essence community here.
Yeah, like I said, there's some crossover there because I'm tight.
Oh yeah,
me and OJ, we go back.
Oh yeah, I get it. But the reason why that person asked you was in my very first video, Player Essence was being disingenuous when it came to the sales. Someone sat there and said, "Hey, the Switch 2 isn't going to sell well. And he's like, oh, well, we'll see. We'll just look at the pre-orders, look at Japan alone, when we all knew that Japan was getting a cheaper console for like almost a third.
Sure.
So that's what he's referring to.
Oh, okay. Well, my response is I don't care. Let's wait till spring 2026. Yeah. Don't care right now.
There you go.
I'm glad the Switch 2 had a record-breaking. I'm glad that the Switch 2, with population growth, was the fastest-selling console. I'm glad it's its fastest-selling console in 2025. Congratulations. I don't care. Let's wait until 2026 to see what's actually going on. Every fucking console is going to be the fastest selling. Every single one. You know why? Because of population growth. Almost every single console will have record sales. Almost every single game in a series, fastest selling. Metroid Prime 3. Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread was the fastest selling Metroid game at first. And then it fell off a cliff. Which sucks because that game fucking deserved to sell more. But it just goes to show you, you can't just because you're the fastest selling. Congratulations. I'm really, really excited that blank product hit its wall early. I'm really excited for that. That's what I kind of see when I see fastest selling. I'm an executive in fastest selling doesn't impress me. What fastest selling is that is something to gold investors. It's a meaningless fucking thing. What matters is consistent, raw sales over time. That's what matters. And that's what I'm interested in seeing. So if the Switch is still selling out this time next year, okay, you got a pretty that's approaching Wii levels of phenomenon, right? As of right now, it just has a really, really good launch, and it's a really, really there's a lot of people that are in the demand phase that really want to switch to. Until that's capped and you start to sit on shelves, I don't care.
Just so you know, you cut out for quite a bit.
Oh, shit. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know if they couldn't hear you, but I couldn't hear you.
Fuck, I hope they can hear me, because that was fucking good. Anyway. Monado Mario says, remember Switch 1, we already did that. Yeah, we did, and nobody had to defend the Switch 1, because it stood on its own. Now with Switch 1, there was more doom calling. And Switch 2, there's more misinfo. That's why there's so many defense. I never saw it, Monado Mario. I never saw very much doom. So I saw people enjoying Breath of the Wild for the phenomenon that it was. So maybe I just missed it. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I didn't see it. I was too busy enjoying. I didn't feel the need to go defend Nintendo with my Master Sword and my fucking Hylian shield. I didn't feel the need to do that because we were all too busy enjoying Zelda, in the game. So. Wii U barely had many first-party games, though. Yeah, we already dealt with that. Let's see. I get you flipping the Switch, but in my opinion, we really need to let Iwata rest. Never. Never, my friend. No, I will dig Iwata up till the end of time because he was a fucking master brilliant strategist when it came to not only for Nintendo, but for gaming in general. You understand that we don't have gaming as we know it without Iwata because it would have literally fucking, without the Wii, that entire generation was macroeconomic decline. Gaming would have fell so hard on its ass in 2009 had it not been for the Wii and New Super Mario Brothers Wii in particular. Like, oh my God, dude. Like, let's see. Flipping the Switch, it's too early to say, but it was third party that wanted game key cards. But if they use that as an excuse to ditch Switch 2, it's their loss, not Nintendo. No, it will be Nintendo's loss because Nintendo literally built the system in part to attract. Here's the thing, like the market has been overshot for the last decade, Monado Mario. I know you as a gamer don't want to hear that. Gamers think that they speak for society. We don't. Most people don't give a fuck about graphics at this point. It overshot the market a decade ago. This system isn't for us. This system is for developers. That's what all these new systems, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, this is for developers so they don't have to optimize. That's literally all the hardware is being used for, which is why there's never any graphical leaps anymore. That's why. So, absolutely disagree. Disagree hard. It will absolutely be Nintendo's loss too. Because they literally, there's no point in the Switch 2. There really is no point if the third parties don't show up. It's a big reason why the Switch 2 is what it is. What a waste of R&D and money if that doesn't happen. Let's see. In Great Ring of Healing, they never did try the Wii U. The Wii was huge from my memory. It was always a big deal at house parties. Oh, the Wii was huge. Yeah, the Wii U not so much. Monado Mario
I'm not
says,
taking away from the Wii.
"Oh yeah, Wii Sports, just Wii Sports." Flipping the Switch, region lock. This is something I never liked past Nintendo consoles. Yeah, Switch got rid of that. Switch moved. That's part of the reason everybody loves the Switch so much. The Switch moved in a very, very pro-consumer direction. The Switch won. It's part of why we loved it. Engraved Ring of Healing. I feel like the Wii stayed popular throughout Wii U's lifespan. Also, it did. It sure did, especially in the nursing homes. Pyratosis, sup everybody. The problem with the Wii is that they abandoned the Wii for the Wii U. They stopped producing software that people wanted on the Wii. They went to the Wii U and they produced software that people didn't want on the Wii U. That's what happened. I started to see the Wii having problems when they released games like Metroid, Mommy Metroid. Like you had fucking Mommy Metroid. You had fucking weirdo fucking flying through the sky Zelda. You had fucking Mario Galaxy 2 that nobody fucking asked for. You had Wii Music. Like, there was a whole bunch of shit that heralded the Wii's demise in the software direction. That if they would have kept making compelling software, the hardware would have kept saying. I stand by that. Monado Mario says Nintendo is expanding the audience with its IP, LOL. That's why you see Nintendo is expanding outside of gaming, like Mario movie. No, that's a good point, Monado Mario. I agree with that. And I also think that is Nintendo's answer in part to the macroeconomic conditions worsening and the geopolitical turmoil. Theme parks. Theme parks are a great way to kind of insulate yourself from that because they typically do well even in depression eras, right? So I agree with that. What I will caution you is that lack of focus comes at a cost when you're a small company like Nintendo. So if we've got Miyamoto, one of your greatest gaming minds, focused on fucking Hollywood and movies and theme parks, where does that leave video games? I'm not going to lie. I kind of missed Miyamoto's input throughout the Switch generation. I feel like that was missed. What do you think, man? Angry?
Are you still there or did you cut out?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Okay, sorry. The way that happened, it sounded like you just cut out. Yeah, I completely agree with you. You know, they are expanding. That I love that Super Mario Brothers movie. I don't think it was called Super Mario Brothers, but I love that.
It was so good.
I know, but I thought they just did too much in it at first. It's like, okay, so we got that. We got the Mario Kart part. So what's next? What are you gonna do next?
Yeah. I want to see my boy Yoshi. I definitely want to see that. But
so do I.
But we'll have to see.
No.
Monado Morris is like the fact that Switch 2 being the highest launch record kind of says it all. It doesn't say anything. It says that they haven't met demand yet. That's all it says. But but it's a good start. And again, congratulations for being, yet another fastest selling fucking product. Congratulations.
Exactly.
DK Bonanza is probably going to be 20 plus hours, I hope. LOL. Yeah, every bit of that. Mario Odyssey was around 20. That'll be around 22. So yeah. Monado Mario says, and using gameplay time to determine price is not appropriate too. If that's the case, then JRPGs should be over $100. Monado Mario, I hate to break it to you, you must be a younger dude. JRPGs used to be over $100. And they weren't even 100 hours. Let's see. Monado Mario says, Swid, that Monolith Soft Magic to be exact with the optimized. Yeah, they're awesome. Also, wouldn't be surprised. Monado Mario says that Monolith Soft helped a bit with Donkey Kong Bonanza too. Yeah, it's the exact kind of thing they would help on. Holy fuck, is that Canadian? Pyratosis says. Oh, they're talking about one of the things I said. Yeah. Monado says, let me be clear. I haven't bought Switch 2 because it's not out yet in my country, but I probably won't buy it at launch. LOL. Yeah, there's no reason to because there's going to be firmware updates. You're going to get more games natively backwards compatible on the new firmware. There's all kinds of reasons to wait for the revision. All kinds. Monado Mario says, y'all should see DSP play Mario Kart World. You told us that. Yeah, there's many DSP documentaries to check out. Yeah, Down the Rabbit Hole did an amazing one. Monado Mario says, apparently there's 394 P-switches in Mario Kart World, probably an Easter egg meaning thank you for playing. Because 3 and 9 in Japanese sounds like thank you. That's pretty cool. You said, unlike that renowned grifter. Oh, renowned is another debate I had. I'm not going to say he's a grifter. I don't know. I think I think Renowned was serious in his positions. Like, again, he came on, he was a homie, he came on, he had the debate. It's fine. Yes, Hartman Smith, Minato Mario says he's that whiny fanboy, complains about games 24/7. I already knew you will say that. Yeah, Hartman Smith, crazy.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, that guy is. Yeah, I did laugh hard at some of your Harmon Smith stuff. For real, every Nintendo fanboy's commentary video, 99 times it's Harmon Smith. Yeah, that guy's he's a low guy. Flipping the Switch, Genealogy of the Holy War, yeah, but it's rumored to be remade soon. I hope so, Bonato. The world needs to experience that game. Just the fact that Angry Vigilante is telling us that he hasn't played that one. Oh, it needs to come back. Man, that needs to come back hard.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of games I missed out on. I was not a rich kid. I was very poor. I used Blockbuster a lot.
God, I remember Blockbuster. Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
I told Nintendo Prime your debate with Nintendo Prime and OJ is like good cop, bad cop debate. LOL. Oh yeah. That's I just try to stay in the center of stuff like that, man. Running his mouth on what? I've been on all of OJ's streams, by the way. Well, I never said OJ was running his mouth. Is that something you said, Angry?
Yeah, I said that.
Oh, okay,
Someone asked why do
I
react to him so much.
I said that his chat. I said his chat pokes him, and then it gets him.
Oh yeah. All they do. You know. But I'll rebuttal that one. If you say you watch all of his live streams and you don't think he does, then you're not watching very carefully. But yes, his chat does poke at him.
Let's see. OJ debates with some of his viewers too. Yeah, actually, some of the funnest stuff is when OJ debates with his viewers. He's pretty. No, you called OJ brainwash viewers. Yeah, but I think he also said that he recanted that, right?
Yeah. I did not know the actual definition of the word, and
so let's not. No point in arguing with a past version of oneself, Minato. He said he gets that. And you falsely claim OJ only talks about Japan Switch 2 sales. Response to that?
In that very first video, because I still have it up, I did not sit there and say that he only talked. In that situation, when someone sat there and said that, oh, the Switch 2 is not going to sell that well, he laughed and said, okay, we'll see. Just look at the pre-orders in Japan alone, knowing that they were getting a console a third cheaper than the rest of us. That is why. So he did not say anything else at that time for that position.
Okay.
So he isolated Japan, and I didn't enjoy that. So that's why I did that one. OJ is trying to seem like that he talks about all the sales, and I took it out of context, that he only talked about that one specific thing, which I didn't take him out of context. I'm happy for him to try to prove it if I did.
Well, so I can kind of see it from both sides there, to be honest with you. On one hand, I don't think we had any sales outside of the Switch 2 sales at the time. But even if we didn't, painting the Japan Switch 2 sales, if that's what happened, I'd have to go back and look. If painting the Japan Switch 2 sales as proof of market dominance in all markets, for example, Europe, Nintendo is typically very tepid. So, yeah, that can be a very dangerous analysis, to be fair.
Yeah.
Not saying anybody did it on purpose, but I will say that I would consider that bad analysis if that's what happened.
Yeah.
Minato Mario says, I'm all down for a round 2 only with OJ, but sorry, OJ said he's semi-retired on debating. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's fine then. And OJ, I'm sure Player Essence will be back on here for his own Liquored Up Live now that we've rebooted. I'm sure he'll be chomping at the bit for that. He loves the show. So, and OJ, he'll probably see this at some point. So, OJ, if you're watching, what's up, man? Minato Mario says, nah, mostly he does take criticism well. A handful of times he doesn't. That he does not, that's for sure. And Minato's been in OJ's community a lot longer than I have. So, yeah, I'll take him at his word on that. Minato says, no, just don't buy it. So, in response to the 160, so, okay. So, all right, well, I respect you standing behind $160. You heard it here, guys. $160 for Mario Kart World would not be anti-consumer. Just don't buy it. Well, I assure you, Minato Mario, at that price point, I think people would not buy it.
I hope not.
Because it would be anti-consumer. Anyway.
Very anti-consumer.
There's many products that's overpriced outside of gaming, like cars, phones, watches, but those I wouldn't say are anti-consumer. So phones and cars, watches, yes. Phones and cars, if you're in America, cars, you need a car. I'm here to tell you, you need a car because we dismantled our public transit infrastructure 150 fucking years ago. So you need a car in America. Phones, you need some kind of phone. You might not need an iPhone or a Samsung 2050 or whatever the fuck it's on, and I don't have one of those. But watches, watches that's a vanity thing, 100%. Wasn't Angry Vigilante saying Ghost of Yotai Deluxe being $80 is different because it's a deluxe version? But then contents of the deluxe edition should have been in the main game, in my opinion. LOL. What say you to that?
Okay, well, I don't know exactly what is coming in the deluxe edition, but generally, when you sit there and look, you got a standard edition, a deluxe edition. I never claimed that I agree with all of this, but but there is a difference. You know, I'm not going to compare a standard edition to a deluxe edition. Usually, deluxe editions, you do get extra stuff. Now, if you believe they should have been baked in with the game, then that's completely your opinion. But a lot of the times, deluxe editions, you do get the season passes, which has upcoming content. You do get usually you do get the 3 days early access or so many days early access thing, whether you agree with that. So yeah, I don't think it's a fair comparison to compare a deluxe edition to the standard edition.
Okay. Yeah. In general, I would agree with that. I do think that cutting out DLC, but we don't know if that's happening with Ghost of Yotai yet. What I don't like is when they cut out things that should obviously have been main game and they cut it out and sell it back. But again, we don't necessarily know that, and we won't until we actually get to see the actual files and stuff, and then we'll be able to see what we'll be able to know. We'll know once the file dump happens. Monado Mario. Speaking of physical, have you guys heard the drama between Stop Killing Games and Pirate Software? There is no drama, Monado Mario. Charlie blew Pirate Games out through his asshole. It's done. That guy needs to go fucking admit he's wrong, and he needs to go fucking retire from this hobby. Yep. Absolute 100% fucking shill on behalf of the games industry with that take. That is one of the most garbage fucking takes I've ever seen in my life. It's one of the most disingenuous things I've ever seen. And when you've got fucking motherfucking Charlie Penguin Z coming after you, damn. But did you see that, Angry?
I saw a little bit of it. I don't know too much about the whole thing, but I have seen videos here and there about it.
Yeah, so Stop Killing Games is a pro-consumer movement. Thor came in and tried to shit all over this pro-consumer movement and took it completely out of context, and he got called out for it. It's basically what happened. Keithia says, I felt like it was strange that Nintendo went from $70 for Tears of the Kingdom to Mario Kart World being $80. No other game from Nintendo was over $60 in between those games. It is a pretty rapid shift, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
Indeed it is. And in response to Keithius, Monado says, LG, well, there's a discourse over Nintendo remasters on Switch costing $60 too. I will defend Nintendo remasters on Switch, and I will defend it this way. The Switch was one of those consoles that grew the gaming audience. And what that means for us, guys, is a lot of people they didn't have a Wii U. So a lot of those remasters, it was their first time playing those games. So I was one of the people who bought those fucking remasters. And also there was a value add, there was a value proposition that you could play those games on the go in a way you couldn't before. So there is an added value proposition to every Switch game and that you can take it on the go. It's a physical game you can take on the go. That's the value proposition. So it's an easy defense to make. Whether people agree or disagree is on them. But Angry, do you agree or disagree with that take?
Well, it depends on the game. I always I try to go by a case-by-case basis. Like with Xenoblade Chronicles X, they did add extra stuff to it that you didn't get previously. I believe they included the DLC with that $60 price point. Now, when we look at Donkey Kong Country Returns, I don't think that game was worth $60. To me, they just reported, didn't really add any stuff to it, and then they slapped the $60 price tag on that one.
Yeah, I could see some criticism of that in games like that, for sure. Monado Mario says the whole generation talk is meaningless. Yeah, LOL. It's July now. Laugh out loud. Apparently, Switch 2 is already over 5 billion units. LOL. Cool, LOL. Very awesome. LOL.
Congratulations.
I'm happy for them. LOL. Usually, let me tell you, as a trained hypnotist, Minato Mario, when you use LOL after every sentence, that is a tell of cognitive dissonance. Just so you're aware of that. So that means you're liking something, you're not liking something you're hearing because it's conflicting with what you've already decided and chosen. Switch 2 is still not out yet in my country, Taiwan, by the way. Well, part of that is usually they like to roll out global releases, but the tariffs are really kind of fucking up that timetable right now. So give it time. It's definitely going to show up in Taiwan, and I would expect it to show up soon. Typically, Taiwan would arrive kind of day and date with either the Chinese rollout or the American rollout. Looks like probably choosing the Chinese rollout at this time. Keithius LG says remasters costing more isn't a good thing unless there's more or new content added. Okay. So Keithius is going to be like hard disagree with me on the remasters, and I get that totally. Again, I never had the Wii U. I never had the GameCube or the N64. So 1,000 Year Door remake to me is a brand new game. So again, I think it's all perspective based, but I totally see where you guys are coming from in terms of, well, what did they really do here? And in fact, I think the 1,000 Year Door runs worse on the Switch than it ran on the GameCube. I think it was 60 frames on the GameCube and 30 on the Switch. So I get it, man. But in Japan, on my Nintendo, where the International Switch is sold there, many are getting it too, and International Switch 2 is more expensive. Oh, is that the case? I thought that system was like soft region locked unless you knew Japanese. But maybe I'm mistaken. No ever console that breaks records falls off the cliff fast, but we'll see. Google Dreamcast, Minato Mario. Google Dreamcast. Also, just about every console, quote unquote, breaks records from the console before it. There are exceptions. I think the Wii U might have been one, but yeah, it's a pop growth thing, man. There's more people, there should be more sales. That's just generally what happens.
And it's all going to depend going forward. You know, if they come out with killer games, it's going to continue. So, well, if they don't come out with good games, then no, it's not going to.
100%. In the end of the day, no matter what the fuck we're on about here, it's all going to come down to the software. It always does. As Yamauchi famously said, the box is the console is just the box you buy to get to Mario. Famous statement. No, before there was definitely many Doom calling on Switch for sure. Okay, and there might have been. I just might have missed it because I wasn't really doing, and maybe it's that I wasn't doing commentary at the time, but I'll look into that. But I didn't see it, man. I genuinely didn't see the Switch Doom cry. Rush Dog says, Liquored Up Live is back. What's everyone drinking? I'm drinking rum, and Angry Vigilante is drinking Pepsi and probably looking toward dinner, guys. So we're going to have to wrap this up soon. We're already a little over.
I got my wife looking at me
I know.
now.
We're gonna jam through this next few, guys, and then I'll answer any questions. If you have to jet, you can jet at any time. But always got to go for now. Anyways, got to go for now. LOL. So Minato Mario's exiting. That's gonna free us up a little bit. Thanks, Minato. Thanks for the candid discussion, man. I always appreciate it. Rush Dog says Phantasy Star 4 was like $110 and it was a 20-hour game. Worth the two. I love Phantasy Star 4, man. It's another good one. Because we get Japan sales, Minato says faster. That's why we get weekly updates on Famitsu. Very true. I agree. And sellers can refuse to art Mario Kart World 160. That's what MSRP means. That's true. That is a recommended. That's very true. And most people would probably not set it for 160 because then they wouldn't sell the game. Let's see. There's a few American cities where you can get by without a car. Same with Canada. They're the exception for sure, though. Yeah, we really did our service really bad as far as our public transit here. The Elemental Hero, the Shadow Link Dragon, and your name is so awesome, Elemental, it gets cut off. Zoo isn't wrong on this, the car and phones, because of many situations. And then Zoo is right because the remasters were needed for Nintendo because the Wii U. Nobody had a fucking Wii U. So, yeah, those might as well have been new games to most of them. So, all right, that's all of our questions. So, before we go, I always like to have an opportunity. I've asked you a million questions. Do you have any questions for me, Angry?
No, I think I'm good. I also got to get going. That's why. But
okay.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Hopefully I can do it again someday.
Fuck
and
yeah,
I think
man.
you need to. Yeah, I think you need to keep bringing this back, man. Do this a weekly thing or however often you did it before.
Just whenever I'd find a guest that I felt like was interested enough to talk to. So, all right, with that said, I got one more question for you then, man. And you kind of half answered it, but we always ask this. The Angry Vigilante show, did you have fun?
Oh, yes, I had very much fun. Thank you.
All right, man. We're going to go ahead and end it there. We're going to wrap up. If you want to stay on with me for just a couple minutes just to do kind of a denouement, we'll do that. We'll be off. But I love you all. Thanks for coming out and making this a fucking bangerang Liquored Up Live. Didn't expect this much traffic after all the time off. But you guys, I love you all. Get the fuck out of here and go enjoy your fucking 4th of July weekend, man. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? See you later.
Yeah. And now it's time to read off the members of the channel. We got Andy Ricks, Jay Wesby65, Brian Payne, Oh No Is Justin, Watari, Shade Milkman, MadFox94, Maximilian Pegasus 88, and Koros Objective. Thank you so much for being a part of the crew. And if you truly enjoy this content, why don't you think about becoming a member? It's only $1 a month. You get special kind of badges, you get special kind of emotes, and at the end of all my videos, I will sit here and shout out all my members until it becomes too long, and then it'll be turned into a credit roll. So that's going to be it for my reaction. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me or not. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay vigilant.
You can cry in the comments, but you won't survive. Like and subscribe if you feel that vibe. We're hungry.